Hey everyone, my name is Lamar. We're excited for this guest today. We have Justin, who has a wealth of experience in lending, specifically to dentists. And thanks for joining the Healthcare Marketing Digital Marketing Podcast. This episode is jam packed with a lot of good insights, a lot of great information for the lending and financial industry. So before we jump in, I have an amazing guest on, a great friend of mine, Justin Schaefer. And so before we get into this podcast, just you and I met. It was a mutual friend that connected us together. I think via email. Was that the right?
I think it started out as like a LinkedIn message, then it went to an email, and then it went to a phone call during the pandemic because obviously we're not traveling and meeting. And then I think it led to a weekly phone call. And then we just kept talking. And the more we talked, we had more synergies and we're working with the same people or knew the same people. I just recently moved to the Carolinas less than 14 months ago. So it was something where, one, I think we obviously built a personal connection, but then two, professionally, it was something to where, we had a lot of the same connects and a lot of people that have good energy and help support a lot of our mutual clients.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing is we work specifically with dentists, physicians, so it's like we love the same industry that we're in. But I will say this guy is special. He cares about others. He does a really good job at networking. He loves what he does. And so before we jump into all the details of this podcast episode, give us some background, your experience, where you've been, how you got into lending, and so forth.
Yeah, so I've was a dental or a healthcare attorney, I should say, for 2 years after law school. Worked for a larger firm. Then spent 9 years working for one of the largest healthcare lenders in the country. Had a great experience with that institution. Worked in New York City, also Northern California, and then most recently, about 14 months ago, joined Provide and cover the Southeast region. So I've been with the company about 15 years, but overall, I've been lending exclusively to dentists for almost 10 years. So it's been fun to see, the dentists, whether they're starting a practice, buying, relocating, selling. It's been a really rewarding career to be able to work with them from the time they first graduate all the way to the time that they are willing to sell and have their larger liquidity event at their end of the career. So it's been a lot of fun. I get to work with people like yourself and always happy to talk. And I get excited about something that when people are maybe buying a practice or starting a practice, marketing is one thing that they might not be thinking about, but it is of the utmost importance. So excited to have a good chat today. I might even ask you some hard questions. So I know you might be asking me some, but I just want to make sure I might be firing back some at you.
No, I love it. And yeah, thanks for sharing that, Justin. And I think, as this is a digital marketing healthcare podcast, I think it's only right.
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, speaking of marketing, I think that's a great transition. So when you're having these conversations with, dentists who are either opening up a new practice or, buying, their first practice, what are the conversations you're having and letting them know and understanding the importance of marketing during that transition?
Yeah, it's just like anything. I think technology's driven a lot of this conversation. 8 years ago, when we were lending to doctors, they weren't thinking about the importance of Google reviews, Yelp, website, the things you could do that I'll ask you about later in terms of when you do buy a practice, the importance of having certain systems and processes in place. And it's just been, especially during the pandemic, with everything being shut down, I think it's right up there next to cash flow, location, things that the doctor should do right away after they buy is you got to have a handle on the marketing. You got to understand what you need to do to make the practice successful because the reality is when you're in dental school or residency, they don't talk to you about buying a practice or the importance of managing your cash flow. Dentists are coming out with two, three, $400,000 of student loan debt. They need
Right.
to have a good idea of how to pay down that debt when they're buying their first business. On the same token, they don't teach them anything about marketing or what to do in terms of operating a business from an HR or technology side. So I think I've seen such strong results from the marketing aspect of being the most important thing that you could change, maybe next to like the carpet and some painting. Like it's something that everyone should absolutely do when they're buying an office or they're relocating or they want to create a new brand because a lot of our doctors when they're buying that first practice they're going into a community that they don't know anybody, right?
Right.
No one knows their name, no one knows their spouse, the kids might be in the schools or relocating. Typically the buyer doesn't even meet the staff of the office they're purchasing until the day of closing. So it
Wow.
is a big experience for the doctor to make sure that prior to them launching their career and borrowing more money and relocating and making a lot of sacrifices from the family side, the marketing is I would think the most overlooked aspect, which is why I always ask the question, and I'll pose this one to you. Like, the question I always ask is when someone's buying a practice and the seller is, Justin Schaefer DDS, and it's got my picture up with my family and my ties to the community. Like, what's the new buyer do? Like, do you just completely start a new website? Do you use theirs and slowly integrate, their pieces to it? Because with the pandemic, the reviews and all that stuff are going to be very, very important. First thing you're going to ask is who's this new person that bought it,
Right.
right? What's your take on that when someone comes out and buys it?
Yes, that's a really good point. And I'll answer the first question about the importance of marketing. And so we are like MedRank is a dental marketing agency, but we focus on lead gen, right? Getting new patients in our clients' chairs. But to your point earlier, it's so important to think about the overall brand, the voice, the content that you're going to be producing, your reputation, to make sure that when people look at your website or look at your your reputation or visibility online, they can connect with you and they can see you're addressing their pain points to get them, to understand that they need to connect you to book an appointment for whatever dental treatment they need. But to your point about, just transitioning to a practice that, the previous owner has used their name, we tell a lot of the clients that we speak with, especially, as an introduction from you, really they need to think about their brand, their voice, their messaging, and then it's a slower transition, potentially starting out because the older doctor has built a reputation, right? So like people know, that person's name. They know, that they're in the community. They've done some, sponsorships and so forth. And a lot of times what we see is it's really helping them utilizing, that brand and that voice of the older doctor,
Right.
what they're currently doing from an online marketing standpoint. So prime example, a dentist may, be transitioning, but they may not be transitioning for 6 to 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
So really we utilize that current website, and it could be, adding the previous doctor to the website or the new doctor to the website and kind of making it look like a collaboration so that it's a smoother transition for the, previous doctors to transition from the practice and take their name off of their assets or their online assets. But then, I would say that 6 month window where it's creating a new brand, redesigning the website, it's a new logo. And the biggest thing, one thing that we really recommend, highly recommend, is when you're transitioning, you want to make sure that, especially if you're buying a practice and that doctor's retiring and they're not practicing any longer, is to own those assets. So meaning you own the domain, you own the Google My Business profile, you own the Facebook page, because a lot of the times, especially with doctors who have been around for a while and has never used marketing, so we'll see that a lot. Like they've been around for 30 years and they've never used marketing, but today it's a little different, especially in the climate of COVID. So it's really making sure when you transition into that practice, you want to be able to redirect all that historical value from the older doctor, their online assets, to your new assets. So for example, let's say domain, it's lamardds.com. I'm the new doctor, and then the old doctor is justindds.com. So we want to own that domain and redirect justindds.com to lamardds.com. So anytime someone is going to the website, they're clicking on Justin and they're seeing the redirect to Lamar. And initially it's having both of our faces on the website, changing the name slowly on the Google My Business profile, Facebook page, but also from an online standpoint, it's really communicating that in the community too. So we don't do any offline marketing, but we tell them, hey, we have connection where, you need to have flyers up of the new name around the practice, on the streets, all your new signs and all that good stuff. But it's very important to kind of slowly integrate the new name in conjunction to like showcasing both doctors. And then once you get new customers and existing customers come in and they see the new doctor's face, you can start really, integrating the full new brand for that practice.
And so can we clarify, like when we talk about marketing,
Yeah.
I think people ask me a lot of times how marketing is not an Instagram page or a Facebook page. Like that is not what, or pictures of people happy after they come out of the office, or, if you go to an event and posting it on Instagram, that is not a true marketing strategy. And I think that maybe a misconception that people think, oh, I just need Facebook and Instagram and some of these other things. No, you need tools to make it more efficient for your customers to come to the office, to pay their bills, to schedule. Like Amazon sends you a notification when your package away. I know when I go to get my haircut, I get a reminder. I also get a notification the day before if there's a cancellation. Can you maybe debunk some myths about what actually would be marketing for a young dentist?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So it's so funny you talk about social media. We do help the dentists that we work with their social media management, but we tell them up front, this is more for the SEO side of things, ranking them in Google, to integrate or interlink their websites on Facebook so that when someone's scrolling on Facebook and they click on their website from a post, it's telling Google that they're getting other visibility from different marketing channels. So it just helps with the overall ranking strategy.
Mhm.
But as it relates to social media, a lot of what we hear sometimes is that they want to grow their followers, their engagement, which is great. You want to grow your brand and you want to get more followers, you want to get more engagement, but you're not going to see the consistent customer lead volume go up from social media, because most people are on social media to do what? Like they're scrolling, right? They're scrolling, looking at the news or the weather report, or Sally's dog took a picture at the park, whatever that is.
My 8-week-old, and my wife posts 7 times a day that everybody's probably upset with her for posting.
Right. And so they're really, it's more of you're developing your brand through social media, and you're doing a lot of rebranding or retargeting. And what I mean by that is, if they find you in Google and they didn't make a decision, they connected with your pain point, they got busy, and then they went to social media and saw your social media posts, they can really connect back with you. Okay, that's the brand I saw. They connected my pain point, and maybe that can lead to a patient in your chair. But when it
Right.
comes to social media, your focus can't be just posting just to be posting. Like it's got to be either posting from an SEO marketing strategy standpoint or posting to get more engagement and followers. But if you think you're going to get a ton of patients from just posting on your social profiles, you're you're mistakenly wrong. So we really focus on lead gen, and so lead gen does come from Facebook, Google, and it could come from LinkedIn and other marketing channels. But with Facebook, it's more about what we utilize is Facebook ads. So
Right.
Facebook ads is a way you can really get granular with your targeting and your approach. We help our clients come up with a promotion, or maybe they have an in-house membership that you can use as a kind of a selling point to get affordable dental care, especially during COVID, and then utilizing those those assets that you already currently have in house on Facebook as a Facebook ad and target a specific type of person. So those would be my I would say my debunk kind of statements for social media. And then to your point, automation is so critical. Yeah, you have to be touching your clients in several different ways, meaning through email marketing. So like if there's a blog post or there's content on your website and they subscribe to that that content because they enjoyed it, then you want to have email marketing funnels to touch them with a newsletter or a weekly promotion. You also have email marketing systems that send out appointment notifications and other follow-ups on different treatments that they're offering specials on and so forth. So there's so many automations you can put in place, but the key to all this is really you need to have an integrated solution, a marketing plan. So that's not just SEO, it's not just Google ads or Facebook ads. It's more integrated so that you can be where your customers are.
Yeah, it's interesting too. It's because when people buy, when he or she are buying a practice, the typical seller has worked in the area and worked in the community for 30, 35, 40 plus years. They don't have to market, right? They are perfectly content at doing what they've done for their entire career. They might be in a spot where they're even turning down patients, maybe only working 3 to 4 days a week. And a new doctor, he or she comes in, might want to open up 5 or 6 days a week. And it's a completely different strategy. And the other thing, every deal is different from my perspective. You might have somebody that's worked in the office before that's buying it. You might have somebody that's never been to the town that they are, purchasing the practice. You might have somebody that's going back home to after they graduate dental school or residency and working in a practice. So the marketing strategy needs to be completely different for every deal. There's not a one-stop shop, right? It needs to be just as customized as ordering a piece of equipment or ordering the new office furniture, whatever you're used to. You got to view it as the same token. And I think anyone says marketing, they just don't think of a customized solution to increase cash. Like I can pay every bill that I have online now. There's no reason that a dental office shouldn't be able to do that and collect payments or send out an email reminder or maybe get paid before the customer even comes into the office. That's all managing your cash flow, and people like yourself make it easy for the doctor, and it shouldn't be viewed as anything other than a true investment. I think sometimes there was a little myth of like,
Yep.
I need to have extra cash stocked away on the side to pay for something like this. This is just like an equipment, a piece of equipment that they take a loan at. They need a new CIRAC, they need whatever it might be in the office, and that will generate more income. And that's why I like working with you or getting on the podcast like this is explaining, because it is just as valuable and you get more bang from your buck if you do it this and spend the time and customize it. So just curious, do you get the same kind of pushback when you're talking to dentists? Like they might not understand or view it the same way that you and I do, or all the successful doctors that we've done. I haven't had one person that's came back and worked with you that didn't say, I don't know why I did that sooner, or that was really easy. And actually, it was a lot of fun picking out all of our stuff, right?
Yeah. So I think to your point of versus expense, right? Like it really depends on the mindset of that doctor, right? Like they have to really understand their business goals and what their future plan is. And most of them don't have that, they don't have that fully baked out yet. So what I mean by that is like, do they want to brand the website or the practice to open up new locations?
Mhm.
Or, do they want to plan to sell 5, 10 years down the road? Like having a really good understanding of their business goals is critical, because if they do, then it's not looked at as marketing is not looked at as an expense at this point. It's looked at as an investment because it's going to help me get to whatever goal I've set for myself. And so, for example, to your point earlier about a doctor who's named the practice, JustinSchaeferDDS.com, right? And
Right.
there's a new buying, dentist that's coming into that community. They have to really think about, should I name the website and the domain my name, or is it going to be a brand where I'm planning to open up multiple locations? And so if you use your name, you can't, don't get me wrong, you can, but you're thinking about the Nikes versus the consultants, right? Like consultants for Nike versus the brand Nike. Like
Right.
if I go online and I see Nike, that is, I'm buying from that brand. But if I see, such and such, whoever that is, and he's a consultant of Nike, I will engage, but the brand name doesn't stand out as much as just the word Nike, right? And
Right.
so we really have to, discuss that with the dentist of, what's your goals, and how can we help you get there from a marketing standpoint? So I think that's critical for sure.
And I tell you what, it is overwhelming when you're buying a practice and uh people are asking you questions. Oh, it's those same questions. Unfortunately, when you're buying your first practice, you need to think about it. Do you want to buy a second one, or you need to think about planning that might be 3 or 4 years down the road, and you're negotiating your asset purchase agreement, you're looking for new equipment, you're going back and forth on a lease negotiation, and you're trying to handle all of these marketing changes all at the same time. I tell any dentist, be prepared for a stressful transition. But
Right.
the best thing you can do to get over and make it a really, really good transition is you can have a dental specific attorney, have a dental specific CPA, a dental specific lender, or a dental specific marketing team. And if you do that, you're going to be as least stressed as you possibly could be. Yes, it will still be stressful, but it's way different than somebody having to come to you and you explain what your strategy wants to be for dental or a loan or an attorney. So I think that's the big key that a lot of people miss as well. Of dental is very, very unique. There are nuances that you need to pay attention to that other successful dentists have used in the past. And the same thing with marketing. That was my question. Is there anything that might be a little bit different that I haven't thought about, or a dentist hasn't thought about. I think some of the stuff with SEO search, a lot of people might be, understanding it, but like, what can people do from a technology standpoint in terms of, bill pay, appointments? Could you get your own, app for your office? Can you, have multiple websites? What are some things there?
Yeah, really good question. So I would say if you're dental specific, right, like especially from a marketing standpoint, there's ways to stay ahead of or to be in line with the conversations in the dental space. So if you're a general marketing agency and your focus is not dental, then there's things that are happening in the dental community that you just may not grasp because that's not the industry that you're focused on. And because we're focused, exclusively in the dental space, for example, local med. I'm not like a lot of dentists that we speak with have never heard of local med. And local med is it's a conversion tool, essentially. It's a book appointment conversion tool. And it's the only one of its kind out there currently that can connect with the client's patient management system and book appointments in real time. So just prime example. So if you call a dental practice and you talk with Susie, the office, admin about booking an appointment, she gets your insurance information, she books the treatment on the doctor's schedule, everything is in the patient management system. That's the normal process.
Right.
With Local Med, you can add their app onto your website, and essentially they can see your schedule as it looks in the patient management system in the current practice. And the beauty of that is, so it's all connected through an API. But the beauty of that is the practice can set whatever restrictions they want. So if they don't want any dental implant consults, they only want hygiene appointments during this block of time when the doctor is most available. They can set those restrictions within Local Med, but it still syncs in with the actual patient management system. So let's say the person works at nights, on the weekends, they can never get a hold of anybody at their current practice, and they go to our client's website that they're using Local Med. We pretty much advertise this book appointment feature, and we'll make it wiggle at the top of the website. So it's like a little button that wiggles, and they'll say 24/7 online scheduling. So when they click on that button, it pops up this map or this calendar of the practice's patient management system. Now they can't see the other patient's schedules. They can just see what's available and which doctor's available, which hygienist is available, and they can book directly from this Local Med app. And essentially everything is sent to the doctor and their team. It's in their patient management system. The insurance information for the patient is inputted in the software in their patient management system, and then the patient just shows up. And it's amazing because it automates the process. And especially with millennials and people who are working constantly, when they can just go on a website and book without, it's crazy. We see in the data all the time, like especially from a user behavior standpoint, people do not want to call a lot of times. They don't even want to submit a contact form. If they can just book it and show up, like it's like heaven for them. So this tool that we like, every client we put on Local Med, no one's canceled it because of the conversion aspect to it, but also the convenience to allow their patients to book appointments and the convenience to their actual practice booking that appointment within their system. And so stuff like that, from a kind of a marketing standpoint, we brought in dentists where they work with a general marketing agency, and they're like, we've never heard of Local Med. What is that? And so having those relationships, being in the dental space, and then working with dentists specifically, there's a lot of conversations we're having on the about certain treatments, about certain languages, different insurances, in-house memberships, and being able to have that knowledge and replicate that on another dental practice that if you were with a generalist that you may not even be aware of, it will give you a leg up on the competition for sure.
And I think, good.
Oh, I was just going to ask, so to that point, I guess with you, like what are you seeing some of your successful and least successful buyers do, not even from a marketing standpoint, just as you're having those conversations, like what makes one successful and what, least successful with their decision making as it comes to lending or marketing or any of those other topics?
Yeah, and I think that's a good question. And it's the answer is all of them are successful in terms of the dental field itself has a very, very, very low default rate overall. So dentists are one of the safest bets that any lender can can make it. I think when you and I sat down for the first time and we're talking, and I, had said, if somebody comes out of school and they've got, working for only 6 or 12 months and maybe not have a lot of cash on hand or have $200,000 or $300,000 worth of student loan debt, I'll still give them $1 million, or I'll still give them 750,000. I think you were a little surprised. You're like, so they don't have to have, all this money savings. They don't have to put money down. They don't have to have, 5 or 6 or 7 years experience. The answer is no. The answer is, if they find a good opportunity, they had to do what they had to do in order to get the degree. And we're not going to punish them because they weren't able to save while they were in school. So dentists have a unique opportunity to get a lot of really good deals because people want to work with their work in their profession. So I think it's one thing about education. If I could just, like you, get in every dental school and just get 30 minutes and tell the students what to look for in terms of stuff like a credit score, or buying a practice, or starting a practice, or relocating, or associating at a corporate suitor versus associating at a local, or working with somebody locally. Like, you might make more working for a large corporation, but you might earn good business experience bouncing back and forth between 2 or 3 different offices, because you don't know what you don't know about HR and Dentrix and the software and everything that people need in order to run a successful practice. So there's pros and cons to each. And just like yours, ours is all about education. So
Yeah.
from a success standpoint, again, the whole key is just working with people that are dental specific. And if that doctor surrounds himself with a group of advisors, I've just been pleasantly surprised. That group a couple years ago might have been equipment rep, architect, CPA, contractor. Now there is absolutely a need at a seat at that table for dental specific marketing, because with everything that's going on with COVID, people are checking the reviews. They're going to want to know, is your office safe? Is it sanitary? What can I want to do the most that I can do, from filling out the forms to paying online versus being in the office, because you're in the office the least amount of time that you possibly could. Now with COVID, a lot of people are sitting out in their cars waiting to go in. You need to be extremely efficient. And one of those things about efficiencies is that if you've got the marketing to be able to handle that stuff and do as much as you can online, or if you've got employees that might be working on your insurance or billing department working from home, they can manage stuff a lot better if you've got the efficiencies and setup and in process. So I think it's just been a cool transition to watch some of the marketing kind of sneak up, and some of the other stuff maybe take a secondary approach to doing some things. And it's a fun business to be in, because I get the chance to work with a lot of young doctors that are buying their first business, and then 2 or 3 years from now, they always come back and say, that was the best thing that I could have done, or I'm so much happier, or my family's doing great. I bought a second or third or fourth location. So like you, it's all about getting out there and just letting them know that there's things that their profession and the degree that they had to get allows them for a lot of cool opportunities. And if they just get the chance to educate themselves, it's fun. It's
Yeah,
fun.
that's awesome. I think, like you talked about, you guys at Provide do a great job of just educating and, giving the information and letting, doctors make informative decisions for their business and being a resource for them. And I think that's critical.
Mhm.
But speaking back towards COVID, I think to your point that you made about, just the right messaging. Like, I had a friend the other day and he was like, I haven't been to the dentist in forever. I don't even know if they're open. And that's because they don't have any marketing automations in place to really showcase on their social media channels, on their website, in their email automation communication efforts, like saying, hey, we're open, we're protecting our staff, we're protecting our patients, we're accepting new patients and appointments. Like, really communicating that and having that, centralized and syncing with different marketing channels is so important. And you have to do that, especially in the climate that we're in now. Otherwise, you're going to lose patients because they just don't know. And then also, like for you with your company now, has COVID, like how has COVID impacted your business? Is it from a negative or positive standpoint, or a little both?
Well, obviously with the pandemic, a lot of unfortunate stuff has happened to a lot of businesses, especially small businesses. We are very proud to say that Provide stayed open throughout the entire pandemic. We continued to lend to dentists while other lenders maybe press pause and wanted to see what would happen to the market and see where things would go. But we did not. We were very, very trying to be proactive for not only all of our existing clients, but also new people who are wanting to try and either finish an acquisition or buy the commercial real estate or just stay open. And I think it was a very, very good decision that we made and one that a lot of people appreciated. And as we get through, hopefully, the other side of this pandemic, I think we definitely learned a lot. We came out stronger. It was extremely stressful, trying to make sure we're doing everything we could for the doctors. But the dentist is they are just remarkable in terms of ones that responded quick, were back there as soon as they could for the patients. They took a risk of reopening their offices when maybe they could continue to stay closed. And we've got a lot of clients we're proud of that are on the other side of this now and really doing well and thriving. And we're the first ones to make sure they had the sterilization and the offices clean and sanitary. And, because people do need treatment. That's one thing that they do need to be able to go see, just like a physician. You need to be able to go see the dentist and the pediatric dentist or the orthodontist that, had treatments that kids needed to be completed. Says a lot about a lot about the profession. And we got to see it from a really good perspective. And hopefully we've got a lot of good things to come in terms of, new products on our side. And, it's a fun business for myself and all my teammates to be in.
That's awesome. So to that point of, different products, new products, is there anything you can share about like the future of, provider or lending that someone just may not know?
Yeah, so we're always looking to like you, try to do the best we can from a customer service perspective. And what that means is the stuff we have from our technology to our platforms. We want to make a dental transition as easy as we possibly can for our doctor, but also people like yourself and everybody that we're working with. So anytime we have an idea, or sometimes you get a complaint and the doctor says, I wish we could do X. We're constantly looking to do new things and create new products. And just like we did during the pandemic, be there for the doctor. So yes, we are continuing to grow year over year. We're hiring more people, and it's a great team, and we have fantastic leadership that's really kind of stayed the course with the dentist and the dental community. And it's an exciting, fun place to work.
Awesome. And so just, do you guys service, like, is there a certain region or is it across the US? Like, where do you service mostly?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually have the entire country covered in terms of overall lending. We do lend in every state. We have offices in San Francisco and Columbus, Ohio, where we have our inside sales team and credit shop. But we do have regional reps like me scattered throughout the country and do full service for any dentist that's licensed in the U.S.
Awesome. So last question for you. Such great information and insights from you as a professional and expert. So I guess, what are you looking most forward to in the dental space? Like, why do you like working with dentists?
I think it's just a challenge. I like how every deal is different. I like how every doctor is different. I like how we start out from a simple conversation, maybe 6 months after they've graduated, about becoming pre-qualified. And now I'm getting a call from that same dentist 4 or 5 years ago that didn't have kids when we first started, maybe has 2 kids or 3 kids, and he or she is looking to grow or build their second or third office. And is completely ingrained. And you get the phone call that the person who was really, really nervous and having a meltdown 2 days before closing and didn't know if it was the right move, now is calling, and we're joking about all the stuff that happened before. So I just like, I guess, the interaction that we're able to get, not only with our dentists, but with the attorneys and the CPAs and the brokers and people like yourself. It is a very, very rewarding job from the perspective of, you really do get a lot of deals done, take care of your clients, and that it comes back twofold in terms of just being happy. So, and I'll throw the same thing at you. What are you most excited about in terms of? I'm sure there were some challenges that your customers and clients faced during the pandemic. Are they getting on the other side of that? Are you still seeing it to where you might not be out of the water yet in terms of stuff that's happening, or where do things stand? And then what are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, great question. I think you hit the nail on the head of just from a dental, being in the dental. I think a lot of these doctors are very personable, and then I think the biggest satisfaction for us is really helping them grow. And when you can see that growth and you're a part of that with them and helping them, align with their business goals and getting them to that location 1, 2, 3, and being able to market those locations just like you did the first, and helping them get new patients and them getting busy. Like, it's so funny, like when we first start working with clients, right? Like we're emailing a lot, we're back and forth, we're strategizing, we're having weekly calls, and then there's a period where we don't even hear from them. And it's because they've gotten so busy. And so that's we love when that happens, because we know we're doing our job to ultimately drive leads into their practice. But the dental space, I think, they're essential, right? Like your oral health is just important as your overall health. So being able to have dentists in the community providing that quality service for whatever community they're in is so critical and vital. And also building up their reputation because they're all different, right? Like they all have their own brand, their voice, and helping them showcase that online and creating a solid reputation for them is fun for us. So that's what I look forward to with the dental space and continue to grow in this industry. And excited about where we're going. I think when COVID hit, the biggest challenge was a lot of them shut down for 2 to 3 months, and so they're going through the same struggles as every other business. Getting PPP loans, laying people off, and so forth. So it was hectic for 2 to 3 months. But what I found is the resilience in the dental space. For us, it was a blessing because none of them, and I'll be upfront, none of our clients canceled their marketing. It was really, hey, let's maintain. Once we get on the other side of this, let's hit the ground running. Now a lot of them are on the other side of it, and they're booking out 2 to 3 months. They have all the safety measures in place. I've even had a few of them on the podcast just to let them showcase their leadership and their ability to think through problems and to develop a culture that, of that resilience. Hey, we're going to keep this train moving. And so that's why I like this space, man. It's fun to be in. Excited to continue to work with you and provide in this space as well. I guess last question for you. So this is the last. I keep saying last question, but if a young doctor or dentist was listening to this podcast, what would be the most important? Maybe it's let's pretend he's in college, or he's thinking of transitioning into a new practice. What's that? Is there one piece of advice that you would give that individual?
I would just say when he or she's going through they graduate and go through dental school, you put a lot of time and money in your own effort to get where he or she is then got the ability to buy a practice, start a practice, or go to corporate dentistry. Just press pause, think about what you want to do. Don't think about what anybody else thinks. If you want to go to a big city, if you're going to go back home, if you want to work for a corporate suitor, like think about what would best make you the happiest in the profession. And there's so many people that want to work with you as a dentist. You can have whatever type of life or lifestyle you want. It's okay if you want to open up your own office in your hometown and be open 3.5 or 4 days a week. It's okay if you want to buy a larger practice in Arlington, Virginia, and really develop 4 or 5 different offices or locations. Like, don't let anybody sway your opinion, or don't anything you want to do. Just think about what would make you happy and start there. And our most successful docs just have pretty honest conversations with themselves when they start that process of what they want to do and where they see their career.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Justin. And again, guys, this was an amazing podcast, amazing episode what Justin would provide. If someone wants to contact you, what's the best way to do that?
They can call me. My cell phone is 740-391-2091. Also, my email is Justin, Justin, .Schaefer, SCHAFER, @getprovide.com. So happy to help anybody. And I'm better at this than I am the teaching homeschool. So I am happy to help anybody that would get me out and away from any type of homeschooling with the kids.
Man, I love it, man. I'm right there with you. And we will include Justin's information in the description of this episode. Thanks again, guys, for listening to this podcast. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.